I'm live streaming now. Let me share my screen. So in discussing this verse, we discussed several points here. One or two of them are one disqualifications of a guru. Guru does not pose himself as a learned person, etc. He is only here to give to us or to reveal to us what is already known within the heart of us, within our own internal consciousness. And he gives a method and the right mood by which we can access our true inner nature. So in the pastimes of Narottam Das Thakur and Ganganarayan Chakravarti, we heard about how the Guru is not keen on showing that he understands anything at all. Rather, his disciples want to glorify him. And we saw how Ganganarayan Chakravarti glorified Narottam Das Thakur. Then we also were discussing about Shri aspect of, in this verse, the Shri Guru Charana Padma, about the true opulence of the Guru. So once more, I'll just repeat the meaning of this verse. The lotus feet of the spiritual master are the abode of pure devotional service. I bow down to those lotus feet with great care and attention. My dear brother, it is, my dear mind, it is through the grace of the spiritual master that we cross over this material existence and obtain Krishna. So there are 2 points which I want to focus today. One is the words Sabadhana Mate. So this phrase here means that one should serve the spiritual master with great care and attention. This is a Bengali verse. When you read the Sanskrit literature, there is an equivalent phrase which comes as Vishrambhena Gauravena. The service to the spiritual master has to be done with Vishrambha and Gaurava, that is, with attention and with humility. And so that's one point that I want to do here, work on. And the other is Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha. So one will attain Krishna. There's a reason why I'm stressing on it. We are right now in the theme of what are the qualifications and disqualifications of a guru. For most of you who are definitely from India, you might have seen that there are so many umpty number of persons who masquerade themselves as a guru. And there is one thing which is common among many of them who are actually imposters or who are actually cheaters, so to say. The first thing that comes up here is many of them often proclaim themselves that I and God are non-different. That very same God who is present has now come in the form of myself. That is a form of cheating. The guru is helping a living individual to recognize his inner nature and serve Krishna. But it is not to become one with Krishna, or to say, I am equal to God, you also become equal to God, we all become God. No. Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha here means come to the stage of rendering service to Krishna. And therefore, the true guru will never ever say, I am God or I am the absolute truth. Or in other words, he does not bring attention to himself. He brings attention of the people around him to Krishna. If you see, for example, in the life of Srila Prabhupada, when he was in the West, for many devotees, they were happy to have Srila Prabhupada with him. But wherever he would go, he would only glorify Krishna. He would not say, this is my unique qualification, or I am God, etc. And this, the initial group of disciples of Srila Prabhupada got to know very firmly. Because his guru, by his character, by his activities, is easily able to impress upon his students what is the goal. Is the goal that of wanting to bring attention on himself, or is the goal wanting to bring attention to Krishna? That is one thing. Nonetheless, the role of the disciple is with sabadhana, or with great attention. He has to serve this spiritual master. I'd like to go through a particular verse here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is in Canto 11, chapter 17, text 27. I'll go through two such paragraphs, and I'd like to narrate a small anecdote about it. First one, if one poses himself as an acharya, but does not have an attitude of servitorship to the Lord, he must be considered an offender. The next sentence, the bona fide spiritual master always engages in undevotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By this test, he is known to be a direct manifestation of the Lord and a genuine representative of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is none other than Lord Balaram. Such a spiritual master is known as Acharya Deva. So this is the important one, a very important point, that the Acharya's qualification is he always calls himself as a servitor of the Supreme Lord. And what should the disciple do? The next paragraph, it's written, a disciple should always respect the spiritual master as a manifestation of Sri Krishna. But at the same time, one should always remember that a spiritual master is never authorized to imitate the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. In the current day, we see many so-called gurus dressing themselves as Krishna and Radha and say, I am that very same Krishna, I am that very same Radha, I can do anything. But we can just ask them, Krishna lifted Govardhan hill when he was hardly 6 years old with his left hand, with his little finger. You forget Govardhan hill, can you even keep a book on your little finger for 7 days? So most of them cannot even do anything like that. That's the real situation. So that's one part. But the other aspect, when this savadhana, or serving the spiritual master with attention, this is important because the means for getting transcendental knowledge is actually service to the spiritual master. When we serve him, him or her, that spiritual master, what happens is, by their mercy, the misconceptions that are there in our hearts slowly melt away. That is it is not a mental exercise alone of trying to understand so many complex things, etc. When the Acharya is pleased with service, he requests the Supreme Lord, I have nothing to give him, but you have everything to give. If possible, you please help this young boy or girl who has come here to serve. I am just being an extended arm. It is just like in many families, you all might know, the parents try to give to their children what the good things that they have learned from their own parents or forefathers. They have learned something nice and they want to give it to the child. They're not claiming that I have it and you should also be following. They have observed something nice and they want to give it to a child. That's the mood of a guru. I'd like to just tell a quick short pastime. It's 6:44. I hope I'll complete it soon. One of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada is His Holiness Romapada Swami. He is also a guru, an acharya, and he has many disciples. Of course, his primary reason to be a guru is to be an extended arm of his own spiritual master, to fulfill the mission of a spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. And he carries himself with that humility. One time, it so happened that he was in India, and I got an opportunity to serve him. And at that time, he had some problem or some health issue with his knees. He was older at that time. And as is typical, as we get old, the knees don't work, the body joints don't work, all these things come. That's the nature of existence in this material world. Whether one is its disciple, a guru, etc., this is a universal feature. So he went to a doctor, an Ayurvedic doctor, and the doctor suggested to him, I forget the name of what the procedure is called. It basically takes some powder, and this powder is kept inside a cloth. The cloth is fully wrapped up So it becomes like a bag with full of powder. Then this powder is kept on a hot plate, and this bag with the powder is kept on a hot plate. So the bag becomes hot, and so with like this hot pack is then had to be applied on near his knee wherever it was paining, and supposedly the combination of heat and the powder which will come from the pores of the cloth together, it was supposed to heal the knees, etc. And at that point in time, he had a lot of work to do. He couldn't go to the clinic at that time. So he asked me, I was just staying around there, to just take this hot pack and put it around his knee. So every day at night, I used to go to his room and do that. And of course, I was not a trained Ayurvedic person. My background is in engineering, and that doesn't mean that I even know how to fix a screw or a tube light or anything like that. Even that, I would fail most of the times. But anyways, I had no background in Ayurveda, and typically those who do this kind of a treatment are trained for 6 months to 1 year. They're trained to do these things, and I was not trained. But there was no other way out, and he had to settle for somebody who knew nothing. And so I took the bag, kept it on a hot iron box so that it was hot, and then tried to see if the heat was good enough to be applied on the skin, and used to press it mildly near the knees and keep rotating from one place to the other place. That's how it was supposed to be done. But because I'm not trained, it was too hot, the skin burnt, and then there were places where the skin, like you'll find red marks on the skin when something hot is kept there. And so Maharaj, immediately, as soon as it was very hot, he would immediately wake up and say, he would point out, and he would just point out the spot. And it didn't happen just once. It didn't happen just twice in one session. It would happen like some 7-8 times, because I didn't know what to do and I didn't know how best to arrange for it. And yet every time that he was inconvenienced, or every time he was in pain because of the high heat that I was giving, he would just say, it's hot here. He wouldn't shout at me, yell at me, or he would not consider me as a person who is causing this anguish. That's the nature of a guru. He doesn't blame others for what is happening, or doesn't say that because of you, all these things have happened. No, this is something that as long as one is in this material world, one carries a body. And because I'm carrying this body, there is bound to be some things happening here. But I am just focused on how I have to serve my spiritual master. So his mood was how to use his body in the service of spiritual master. Why? Because he was very attentive to that service. When we observe this attention to his service, then we will also become more attentive in our own service. And this true spiritual master would also teach others how to be attentive. While this was happening, he would also point out, like in some corner of the room, there was a dirt. He would just point with his finger and say, there is dirt over there. And so this indicates the consciousness of an elevated acharya, that they want everything to be clean around them, but not at the level of saying, why haven't you made it clean? You are supposed to make it clean. That's called a nagging tendency. So an acharya very well knows how to extract service from the disciple, and through the medium of extracting service, elevate the consciousness of the living jiva so that he becomes attentive when he's chanting, when he is serving, or when he's reading scriptures, etc. So this is the expert skill of an acharya. And this expert skill is obtained when we do bandho moe sabadhana mate. We should serve him with care and attention. And when we do that, whatever he has obtained by serving his spiritual master with care and attention, that will become our own treasure. And so each of you, me, all of us together have that opportunity to serve the spiritual master with attention. Both when we can serve him in person, and second, when we are here far away physically, but yet through his words. So it's very important that we listen to his words of instruction. And for all of us, Srila Prabhupada is our primary Shiksha Guru, or the person through whom we are getting transcendental teachings. So I'll share that paragraph or that purport with you. Let us hear it carefully and yearn that let me serve my Guru with attention. And the service to Guru with attention is bestowed on an individual who chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra with attention and in a mood of yearning. Please, oh my dear Krishna, oh my dear Srimati Radharani, please bestow upon me the mercy of the Guru by which I can serve you. Okay. With that, I'll end the session here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.